Welcome, dear listener. As you settle into your bed, pull your blanket around you like the soft folds of a woolen cloak. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breath become slower, and gently let go of the day. Tonight, I'll take you far back, to a time before Rome ruled the world. Before the Caesars, before the empire, before the familiar marble columns of history, there was a gentle land nestled in the hills and along the coasts of what is now central Italy. This land was home to a mysterious and fascinating people, the Etruscans. Though much of their world has faded into soft silence, echoes remain. In the patterns on pottery, in the brushstrokes of ancient frescoes, in the buried tombs that once held banquets for the dead. And tonight, we'll explore the quiet rhythms of their life, their curious customs, their daily joys, and their peaceful, enduring spirit. So, close your eyes if you wish. Let your thoughts float like a leaf on a gentle river, and drift with me, to the land of the Etruscans. In a quiet Etruscan village, dawn arrives softly. There are no alarms, no rush, only the warm light of the rising sun spilling gently over the rooftops of homes built from tufa stone and clay. A dog stretches near a wooden threshold. A mother stirs a pot of emmer wheat porridge over a glowing hearth. Children begin to rise slowly, rubbing their eyes and reaching for woolen tunics dyed in earth tones, ochres and faded reds. In this moment, life is not grand or glorious. It is ordinary, and it is beautiful. The Etruscans loved to live in harmony with the land. Many worked as farmers, tending olive groves and vineyards, while others crafted pottery, worked with bronze, or built finely tuned chariots. But all lived according to quiet rhythms: sun and moon, rain and harvest, ceremony and rest. Today is a peaceful day. There is no festival, no gathering, only the still, steady breath of life in a village that's been here for generations. In the heart of the village, under the soft glow of the morning sun, quiet work begins. A potter, gray-haired and smiling, kneels at her wheel. Her hands are stained with the gentle red of local clay. She doesn't rush. Each vessel is shaped slowly, steadily, not for beauty alone, but for balance, for function, for tradition. Nearby, her husband smooths a fresh bronze blade, cooled beside a small charcoal forge. Bronze still gleams in this age. Iron has begun to spread, but here in the hills, the old ways linger like the scent of lavender drifting in from the fields. In another corner of the village, a weaver hums softly as she threads yarn through a vertical loom. The colors she uses are not loud: faded greens from nettles, soft reds from madder roots, gentle yellows from saffron gathered on cooler mornings. The Etruscans dressed well, but not boastfully. Tunics were simply cut, fastened with bronze fibulae, and worn with ease. Each object in the village, from the tools to the trinkets, carries a quiet kind of care. Nothing is wasted. Everything has its place. The Etruscans believed deeply in the idea of measure, of balance, proportion, and natural order. Their homes, their work, even their meals followed this rhythm. By mid-morning, the warm scent of flatbread fills the air. Baking in clay ovens, tucked into the walls of many homes, the bread is dense and earthy. It's made from spelt or barley, ancient grains rich with flavor and memory. Figs and soft sheep's cheese complete the meal, along with olives pressed earlier in the week. Food for the Etruscans was not only nourishment, it was symbolic. Meals honored the gods, the ancestors, and the cycle of life. Before they ate, many families would pause, not to speak aloud, but to simply breathe, to give quiet thanks. A pinch of flour might be scattered on the hearth as an offering to the household spirits, known as the lares. Wine is poured, carefully watered. The Etruscans did not drink wine straight. They believed in moderation, in gentle joy. Even their goblets, beautifully painted with scenes of dancers and animals, reflect a love for harmony between nature and the divine. In the background, a small oil lamp flickers beside a carved wooden figure, perhaps of Tenia, the sky god, or Uni, the goddess of protection. Etruscan homes often included simple shrines. No grand temples here, just small, meaningful spaces, woven with spirit and tradition. As the sun begins its slow arc across the sky, the village quiets further. The warmth of the day settles gently into the clay walls, and time moves as though wrapped in soft linen. In a quiet grove not far from the houses, near a spring-fed stream, a small public bathhouse welcomes its visitors. It is not grand, nor elaborate, just a stone structure nestled among cypress and laurel, with steam rising faintly from warm pools within. The Etruscans, long before Roman habits took shape, believed in cleanliness as a sacred act, a kind of purification of both body and spirit. Here, neighbors greet one another with nods and soft smiles, draping linen towels over polished stones. Inside, the floors are worn smooth from years of bare feet. Warm water flows into shallow basins, scented with crushed herbs, rosemary, lavender, and thyme. There is no rush, no chatter, only the sound of dripping water, the occasional ripple, the breath of steam. They bathe slowly, rubbing oil into their skin, then scraping it away with small bronze strigils. The oil carries with it the dust of the day, the tension of labor, and the heaviness of thought. In these moments, cleansing is not just physical, it is communal, cultural, and deeply peaceful. Some will rest in the shade after bathing, sipping watered wine or nibbling soft dates. Others may sit by the water and simply listen. As the afternoon deepens, a warm hush blankets the countryside. Out beyond the village, among rolling hills dotted with olive trees, a family walks quietly along the edge of a vineyard. The Etruscans were among the earliest wine producers in Italy, and their vineyards, arranged neatly along terraced slopes, were cultivated with gentle patience. Grapevines twist along wooden supports, heavy with fruit. A young boy gently ties a new branch with a strip of linen, while his grandmother picks herbs from the field's edge, wild mint, fennel, and savory. Nearby, 2 oxen pull a wooden plow slowly through a patch of soil. The farmer guiding them hums softly, not for an audience, but for the soil itself, as if the earth might listen. Etruscan agriculture was thoughtful. They practiced crop rotation, built drainage systems, and worshipped deities of field and furrow. To them, farming wasn't toil, it was balance, an agreement between humans and the land. At the edge of the field, a carved stone stands, faintly inscribed. Perhaps it marks a boundary. Perhaps it honors a god of harvest. Whatever its meaning, it stands silently, as it has for decades, watching the seasons pass. As the light of day begins to mellow, its golden hue softens every surface it touches, from terracotta rooftops to olive leaves that shiver quietly in the breeze. In a small hilltop town, the temple courtyard is calm. It is not grand like the temples of later Roman times. No marble towers, no loud processions. Just a modest, elegant space, whitewashed stone, wooden beams, and shaded colonnades that catch the warm breeze. The Etruscans built their temples atop platforms, often surrounded by open land and trees. These weren't places for crowds, but for connection, between humans and the unseen. A priest walks silently across the courtyard, robes draped in gentle folds of deep indigo. In one hand, he carries a small dish of grain and honey. He does not speak, for the gods hear what is unspoken. To the Etruscans, signs were everywhere. In the movement of birds, in the shape of clouds, in the pattern of a sheep's liver. But these were not omens of fear, they were simply part of listening. A family visits, standing respectfully by a carved pillar. The mother offers a garland of herbs. The father lights a narrow oil lamp and places it in a small niche. Their child kneels and touches the smooth stone, the way one might stroke the bark of a trusted tree. And all around, the air is still. Not silent, no, but full of sacred quiet. The kind that holds meaning without words. In a shaded corner of the village, just behind the small public gathering hall, sits a scribe. He is young, perhaps 20, with dark curls tied loosely behind his neck. Before him lies a thin slab of wax, framed in wood. Beside him, a stylus, its tip worn smooth from careful use. The Etruscans wrote in a script not unlike early Greek, written right to left. Each character was carved with thought, each word chosen with care. They recorded not only trade and law, but poetry, names of ancestors, and prayers to their gods. Nearby, a few children sit cross-legged on reed mats, mimicking his hand as they practice letters with charcoal on pottery shards. There is no rush here. Learning is not hurried, it is rhythmic. A repeated gesture, a breath, a word, then again, and again. The scribe smiles softly, correcting a symbol by tapping the slate gently, not to scold, but to guide. He knows, as his teachers did, that memory flows better in quiet, that wisdom often grows in silence. As the sun lowers toward the western hills, the shadows in the village grow longer and cooler. The air, still warm, carries the scent of distant fig trees and the sweet smoke of olive wood fires. From a shaded courtyard surrounded by stone walls, the soft notes of a flute begin to drift, not bold or triumphant, but delicate, like the call of a bird from behind a branch. The music does not demand attention. It welcomes stillness. An elder sits cross-legged on a woven mat, playing the aulos, a double-reeded instrument that hums gently against the hush of dusk. Children lie nearby, heads on folded arms, listening with half-closed eyes. Two women braid each other's hair slowly, murmuring stories too quiet to carry. An older man taps a small drum, soft, deliberate, like the beat of a slow and steady heart. For the Etruscans, music was not performance. It was presence. It was the heartbeat of daily life, at meals, in temples, during games, and at rest. Simple wooden lyres, hand drums, bronze rattles, these were the sounds of belonging. Tonight, there is no feast, no ceremony, just music, and breath, and the long, quiet sigh of evening. As the sun lowers toward the western hills, the shadows in the village grow longer and cooler. The air, still warm, carries the scent of distant fig trees and the sweet smoke of olive wood fires. From a shaded courtyard surrounded by stone walls, the soft notes of a flute begin to drift, not bold or triumphant, but delicate, like the call of a bird from behind a branch. The music does not demand attention. It welcomes stillness. An elder sits cross-legged on a woven mat, playing the aulos, a double-reeded instrument that hums gently against the hush of dusk. Children lie nearby, heads on folded arms, listening with half-closed eyes. Two women braid each other's hair slowly, murmuring stories too quiet to carry. An older man taps a small drum, soft, deliberate, like the beat of a slow and steady heart. For the Etruscans, music was not performance. It was presence. It was the heartbeat of daily life, at meals, in temples, during games, and at rest. Simple wooden lyres, hand drums, bronze rattles, these were the sounds of belonging. Tonight, there is no feast, no ceremony, just music, and breath, and the long, quiet sigh of evening. As the last light of day slips behind the hills, the homes of the village become islands of warm glow. Oil lamps flicker from clay niches. Fire embers crackle low, filling the air with the scent of hearth smoke and fennel. In one home, a woman stirs a pot of lentils gently with a carved wooden spoon. The firelight catches the copper of her bracelets, glowing soft as candle wax. The meal is simple: lentils with garlic, a little vinegar, a handful of wild greens, and flatbread warmed on the side of the hearth. A boy and his grandfather set the low table with clay bowls. They do not speak much, the language of gesture is enough. The grandfather places a small bronze figure on the hearth shelf, a household god, watching over the evening meal. The boy lights a little lamp and places it beside the figure, hands steady in the firelight. As they eat, they speak softly of the olive harvest, of the stars above the hills, of the quiet call of owls in the night. These are not dramatic stories. They are the rhythm of life, ordinary, sacred, and slow. Outside, the hills have turned blue with night. The olive trees sway gently, their silver-green leaves whispering in the darkness. The last embers of fire fade into a soft glow, and above, the stars unfold, bright, ancient, and unmoving. In a courtyard where the stone still holds the warmth of the day, a family settles on woven mats. They don't rush toward sleep. They approach it slowly, like one approaches a gentle shore. The grandmother leans back against a low cushion, a thin wool shawl wrapped around her shoulders. She begins to speak, not loudly, not with urgency. Her words rise like smoke, soft, curling, and familiar. She tells the children the story of Tagus, the childlike prophet who rose from the plowed earth, speaking wisdom from the gods, of how he taught their people to read the signs in lightning and in the livers of sheep. But mostly, she speaks of the sky, and how the stars were once believed to be the lights of the souls who had passed beyond. The children listen with heavy eyelids, heads resting on folded arms. The grandmother's voice is slow, her syllables stretching like twilight. One child reaches out a hand, pointing to a pattern in the stars. "Is that where our ancestors are?" they whisper. The grandmother only smiles, and silence returns, soft and complete. Inside the home, the lamps have grown dim. One by one, they are extinguished, not with haste, but with care. A breath, a quiet gesture. The last flame fades, and darkness arrives like an old friend. The family lays down on thick woolen bedding atop raised platforms. Each person has a blanket, stitched by hand. Each has a place. Before sleep, A few whisper to the gods of the hearth, not to ask, but to offer thanks, for the day, for the breath in their lungs, for the olives in the fire and the love that fills the home like warmth in a clay wall. Outside, the stars keep watch. Inside, the home is still. And in the hearts of those who dream, the customs live on, silent, sacred, and slow. There is no need to remember every word. Let them drift. Let them fade. Like soft footprints on a worn village path, gently disappearing into night. You are safe now. You are at rest. Sleep well, beneath the same stars that watched over the Etruscans long ago. The first rays of morning light spill across the rooftops, catching on garlands of dried flowers and woven grasses that hang from doorways. It is a festival day, but not one of noise or crowds. This is an Etruscan festival of the hearth, a local holiday, known only to this village, honoring the spirits of home and ancestors. There is no loud procession, no fanfare. Instead, the day begins with washing, of the steps, of the hands, of the heart. Clay pots are scrubbed until they gleam in the early light. Wreaths of olive leaves are fastened to lintels. The eldest daughter ties a saffron-colored sash around her waist, a cloth worn only for ritual days, passed down through 3 generations. In the center of the village square, neighbors begin to gather, speaking in murmurs. There are no rehearsed speeches, only offerings, of grain, of fruit, of quiet presence. A fire is kindled, not large, but sacred. Into it, they toss sprigs of rosemary and laurel, their scent rising into the warming air. Children carry small painted jars, each filled with something different: honey, oil, figs, barley. They place them in a low stone circle as gifts to the manes, the gentle spirits of the ancestors. There is no sense of rush, just rhythm, slow and remembered. Later, as the sun climbs and the sacred fire burns low, the village begins to shift into quiet celebration. Children play games passed down from their elders, not loud or competitive, but playful and patient. One group rolls carved bone dice across a flat patch of earth, watching them tumble and land with tiny clinks. Another forms a circle, singing simple melodies as they pass a painted jug from hand to hand, trying not to spill the scented water inside. Nearby, young men practice ephedrismos, a lighthearted game where one player tries to strike a stone target with a small clay disc. When they miss, they laugh, softly, warmly, without frustration. For them, play is not conquest, it is connection. The Etruscans believed that games mirrored the cosmos, circular, rhythmic, sometimes unpredictable. And so they approached them with the same care they gave to planting, to cooking, to prayer. An elder sits beneath a fig tree, telling the story of how the gods once played a game with stars, and from their laughter came thunder and rain. The children listen, then return to their own little myths of motion and joy. As the sun leans into late morning, the village paths begin to stir with slow-moving footsteps and the soft clatter of clay wheels over earth. It is market day, not one of chaos, but of careful tradition. Once every few weeks, villagers from the hills gather in a shared clearing near the river, beneath groves of tall cypress and pine. Small carts arrive, drawn by sleepy donkeys with bells on their necks that chime with each slow step. They carry linen bundles of dried herbs, little wooden boxes of figs, baskets of river fish wrapped in reeds. Vendors lay their goods on wide, flat stones or low-woven mats. No shouting here, just low voices, friendly bartering, a smile, a nod, a careful exchange. A woman offers beeswax candles carved with sun symbols. An elder man displays painted amulets, tiny terracotta birds, meant to bring good dreams. In the corner, a boy strums a quiet tune on a lyre, his voice barely more than a hum. The Etruscans believed that even trade should reflect balance, not gain, but harmony. No one leaves with nothing. No one takes too much. It is not a place to get rich, it is a place to belong. Later in the day, a family walks the gentle road out of the village toward a place of stone and silence, the necropolis, the city of the dead. But this is not a place of fear. For the Etruscans, death was part of the long breath of life, not an ending, but a doorway. They built their tombs like homes. Round chambers cut into soft tufa rock. Arched ceilings painted with dancers and deer. Walls adorned with images of meals and music, of games and family. The family carries small items. A piece of honeycomb, a sprig of lavender, a painted cup. They leave them at the entrance of an old tomb, a quiet gift to someone once loved, someone who still lives in memory. Inside, the tomb glows faintly from the afternoon light bouncing off its walls. Here, silence is not emptiness. It is presence. The child asks if the ancestors still hear them. The mother nods, then touches the stone gently, as though it were skin. There is no mourning today, only remembrance. The road through the Etruscan hills is not paved, nor wide. It winds gently, following the curves of the land, between cypress stands, past low stone walls, and across bridges built from flat river rock. Along it walks a small caravan, not a merchant train, but a family returning from the market, with baskets swaying from a mule's back. They do not rush. Their pace is slow, like the breath of the land around them. A child counts birds overhead. The father hums an old melody, low and steady. The mother runs her fingers along the tops of the tall grasses that bend into the road. They pass shrines carved into roadside rocks, little alcoves where someone has left a sprig of thyme, a pebble, a drop of oil. The Etruscans saw the divine in every bend of the trail, every tree a watcher, every stream a listener. The road smells of wild mint and warmed earth. Their footsteps make only a gentle rhythm, soft on soil, soft on soul. They do not speak often, for nothing needs saying. They are in the quiet part of the day, the part where the world holds you like a cradle. Back in the village, the sun begins its slow descent behind the olive groves. Inside a small studio at the edge of the square, an elder potter sits before a low spinning wheel, the clay cool beneath his fingers. He does not rush. The pot he shapes is not for sale. It is a gift, for the temple, or perhaps for no one at all. His hands are stained from years of earth and dye, the lines of age like riverbeds on his skin. He hums softly, eyes half closed. Around him, finished pots line wooden shelves, each one unique, each one calm. Scenes of animals walking gently across fields, of women gathering flowers, of stars and birds and water. In the far corner, a small oil lamp flickers. Its flame is steady, so is he. The potter believes that a pot should not just hold something, it should remember something. So he works with care, shaping memory into form. Outside, dusk gathers in soft blue layers. Inside, the wheel turns, slow, sure, eternal. As twilight settles, the village becomes a place of shadows and warm glows. But further out, beyond the trees, past the hills, lies a lake that mirrors the sky like polished obsidian. This is not a lake for fishing. Not for swimming. It is sacred. A mirror for the gods, a bowl of water where sky and spirit meet. Along its shore, figures in long robes gather. They carry no banners, only small bowls of milk, a few grains of salt, a curved bronze mirror, a symbol of light returned. There is no priest with a raised voice, only a woman with silver in her hair who kneels beside the water, whispering something only the lake can hear. Each person steps forward in silence. They place their offerings at the edge, a little honey, a ribbon of dyed cloth, a pebble from a family tomb. Then, together, they watch the water ripple, not with boats or wind, but with breath, with presence. The Etruscans believed lakes were mouths of the underworld, or perhaps eyes of the gods. Still, unblinking, always listening. As the last light fades, they leave in silence. The lake keeps their secrets. Back in the village, candles flicker in clay holders shaped like birds and crescent moons. On the low porch of the elder's house, neighbors gather, not for a feast, but for a quiet moment together. No plates, no shouting, just a shared bowl of dates, a flask of herbal wine, and a lyre resting across someone's lap. An old melody drifts into the evening, one string at a time. Then a second voice joins, not loud, not polished, but steady, like a stream winding over stones. The Etruscans sang often, not for performance, for memory. Songs were how they remembered a grandmother's advice, a harvest blessing, a journey across the hills. As stars begin to appear, more voices join, layered, slow, comforting. They do not harmonize perfectly. They don't need to. Their voices rise and fall like breath in a sleeping room. A child curls up in a parent's lap. An elder taps time with their thumb. A candle gutters low, then steadies. In this gentle circle, the day breathes out. The village exhales. The village has grown silent now. No more footsteps on stone. No more lyre strings. Only the soft creak of wooden doors being closed, the slow hush of fabric being drawn over shutters. Inside a small home, built of stone and reed and warmth, a family prepares for sleep. The main room glows with the final flicker of firelight, its orange light playing across the clay walls painted with spirals and birds. The mother smooths a wool blanket over the child's sleeping mat. She hums, almost too soft to hear. The melody is not for performance, it is for rhythm. A way to help the body settle. A way to let the breath slow. The father checks the door latch, then kneels by the hearth. He stirs the coals, making sure they'll stay warm enough through the night to reawaken the flame come morning. On the walls hang objects not for decoration, but for memory. A carved comb, a small bronze mirror, a clay mask passed down for generations. Each one reminds them, you are part of something longer than today. The child, nearly asleep, asks a question about the stars. The mother smiles and answers gently, that the stars are ancient, older even than the gods, and that some of them know your name. Outside, the wind hushes across the roof like a lullaby. The fire sighs. The home exhales. Outside, the stars begin their slow wheel above the darkened rooftops. The constellations the Etruscans knew, the watchers, the guides, the sky serpents and the sacred twins, all move silently across the night. No one calls to them now. No one interprets their path. They are simply there, steady, gentle, quiet. The hills sleep. The lake rests. The tombs breathe stone breath. And the village, wrapped in dreams, becomes one with the silence. Even the gods, if they are listening, seem drowsy. A dog sighs in its sleep. An oil lamp gutters and goes out. The fire is only embers now, warm, patient, still glowing. And in the quiet rooms, behind thick walls and painted doors, the Etruscans sleep, just as you, now, may begin to sleep too. May your breath slow. May your limbs grow heavy. May your thoughts drift like small boats upon the lake. The day is done. Let the hush carry you. Let the past hold you gently, like hands folding around soft clay. Sleep now. Sleep, beneath the same stars the Etruscans once watched, and dream the long, slow dreams of history. You've just spent over an hour and a half wandering the quiet ways of the Etruscans. Their slow days, their gentle nights, their rituals, songs, and silences. May their calm stay with you, long into your rest. And when you wake, may you carry some of their balance, their grace, their slow, steady pace, into your day. Sleep well, sleep long, and we'll meet again, somewhere in the soft spaces of the past.